Hey guys, I'm at the Electric Bicycle Center with Sam. How's it going, buddy?
Good.
Beautiful day, Southern California. Perfect for mountain biking, and we've got a Haibike FullNine RX. This is the SDURO side of the Haibike line, which means it has a Yamaha mid-drive motor. They tend to be a little bit more affordable, and one of the interesting things about the FullNine series, meaning full suspension 29er wheel set, is that they're only available with the Yamaha motor, the SDURO side, right? Like some of the other models have Xduro, which is the Bosch motor, a little bit more expensive. I've gone into that in some other videos and stuff, but this is a cool bike in part because it's a little larger, and Sam, you're a taller guy. How tall are you?
6'4".
6'4", okay, cool. So this frame actually fits him. It's a size 50. This model comes in 40, 45, 50, 55. So this is just about right for him. And with the larger diameter wheels, that actually elevates the bike a little bit, more than a 27.45, more than a 26. But you get a little bit less travel. So this one has 100 millimeter Fox float up front, RockShox in the rear. High quality stuff. And in fact, one of the other areas I was going to comment on here is that it has Dior XT 10 gears in the rear, 2 sprockets up front, and that's something that's kind of unique to Yamaha. Bosch and a lot of the other mid-drive motors, they don't allow that. And in fact, there are 3 trim levels for the FullNine. There's the SL, which is the cheapest. It's like $3,500. Then you go to the RC, it's like $3,800, maybe $3,900, $3,899. And then you step up to this one, it's like $1,000 more than the lowest, the base model, the RX. You get those nicer components, and you get the 20 speeds. Same with the RC. So that might be something a lot of people are thinking about. They're like, I want to get an affordable high bike. This is one of the few models where it's like, man, I can get full suspension, mid-drive, high quality stuff, cool looking. Maybe not quite as high quality as this one, but for $1,000 more, you get the air fork, you get the 20 gears, and just a really nice display and stuff. I know I'm dominating this conversation. I'm really excited about this bike, and one of the other areas that's maybe worth considering if you're gonna upgrade is it's got remote lockout on that fork. It's got the SLX brakes, and these are adjustable reach, so, you know, depending on your hand size, and, you know, it's just 2 fingers to reach that thing. Hydraulic. They're supposed to be a little bit easier to work with, and bleed and letting out air bubbles and stuff. I was doing some studying because I'm not actually like a mountain bike pro, I guess. I've been getting better and like more well versed in some of these components. The brake calipers you can see here, they've got like a heat sink on them, just like a computer chip or something, so it's meant to dissipate heat. This is like an aluminum alloy piece right here. SLX, it's not the super duper pro end of Shimano, like they have XT and XTR, but SLX is really good. And even just seeing those heat sinks on there, the carbon steel rotors, that's what's on the outside, and then they have like aluminum alloy in the middle to dissipate heat. It's kind of a 2 different piece there. This is a 12 millimeter through axle in the rear, 15 millimeter up front. That's going to give you stiffness. This is a mountain bike. This is like, it's a high level mountain bike. Sam, what am I missing here? I know I've been talking my face off here.
So when somebody comes in and they're checking out a bike, you know, some people are looking at certain price points. Others just want to go straight to their higher trim level.
Yeah.
Speaking of the front fork, you go from like a Sun Tour to a RockShox to a FoxShox.
Yeah.
And people that are knowledgeable will know, like, hey, I want that FoxShox, so they're going to pay the extra $1,000. You're paying for the componentry. The thing I want to make clear on this is from the SL trim level all the way to the RX trim level, it's the same motor, it's the same battery.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And on that point, I guess I should, you know, explain some of the stats. So this is a 250 watt nominal, 500 watt peak, 80 Newton meter mid-drive motor. So 80, I mean, the Bosch system in 2014, 2015, that was like 60 Newton meters, and they've got a new RX one that's a little bit more torque and stuff, but Yamaha's been touting the whole zero-cadence thing. So like immediately when you start pushing, you get response. The motor kicks in. In my experience, in practice, it's like they're both really quick and responsive, but that's one of the things they're highlighting. This motor doesn't offer shift sensing. So you do have a lot of gears here. It's 20. You're going to be shifting between them. What I found is that it's measuring cadence and torque, and if you just ease off a little bit, you're not pushing as hard when you're pedaling, the motor will back off, and that's a perfect time to shift, just so you aren't mashing. But again, this has this high-level drivetrain. The battery pack here, really nice stuff. It is a 36 volt 11 amp hour, 396 watt hour, same size as the Bosch battery pack. A little bit longer, but kind of slimmer. And you'll see how Sam did that a minute ago. Thank you, man. It's so awesome to have help. It slides out from the side, and by doing it that way, instead of clicking it in like the Bosch pack, they're able to bring this top tube down a little bit and create almost that mid-step frame design. You know, this is like, they've got these extra sort of like gussets to keep it stiff. These are not round tubes, they're really stylized. And if you look at the suspension down here, this is a 4-bar link suspension, horse link is what they call it. This used to be sort of an intellectual property owned by Specialized, and now it's been kind of released and other companies can do it. It's designed to just to make it, the travel, not have a bob. And there is some adjustment on this, so you can kind of bring it down and almost lock it out, give yourself some stiffness, or loosen it up for that comfort. This is a 50-pound bike. We weighed it yesterday. It's like 49 and a half pounds. Yeah. So it's not nearly as light as if you got like a carbon fiber, like, you know, high-end mountain bike that way. And you are paying a little bit more, but I mean, we were talking about $4,500 for the top of the line FullNiner.
With the assist you get from the motor, I mean, it's a game changer. And
yeah.
I've been riding electric bikes for 20 years now, plus. And when I got on this style of bike with these componentry and rode it, I was like, wow, this is a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And I can see this opening up to a lot more people out there in the marketplace that are actually riding mountain bikes in those type of environments. And this is good stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm actually a huge fan of full suspension just because I tend to ride more when you have a full suspension because it's more comfortable. You've got the motor, you've got the battery. You can take this off-road mountain biking, but it's also fun to just kind of dink around town and cruise around. One of the other highlights of the Haibike in particular, because other bikes use like the Yamaha motor, the Bosch motor. What Haibike has done here is they've angled down their stem, so it's kind of like a negative value, and then they've raised their bars. So most mountain bikes I see, it's kind of like a slight, it's like positive angle and then a flat bar. So they've approximated that, but the reason they've gone to all this trouble to angle down and then have this little bit of a low rise is so that protects the screen, okay? Because this is your control panel right here. They've externalized all the buttons and stuff so you can have your hand on the grip and navigate like up or down and assist while you're riding, and they haven't compromised the grips. There's no throttles or anything like that. This is a solid grip with lockers, so it's a performance thing, but this is just another area where they've been thoughtful, because if you crash on this, if you're going down a big hill, you're enjoying it just like a normal mountain bike, you could go down and this could get bashed in. One of the things that I like to call out is that it's removable. So if you're bombing a big hill, you might take that off and put it in your pocket just to protect it. I mean, what do you think about that, Sam?
Yeah, it depends on your, you never know when you're going to crash, so
yeah,
I suppose.
So if you don't take it off, it's nice that at least they have that kind of, what do they call it? Display protection bend. And this is adjustable, like with tools. You could angle it down, tip it forward. Yeah, it's got like the alligator teeth in there, so it kind of stays once you've got it. There's the button pad. This one also has like a micro USB port right here, so you could potentially charge your phone if you're using Strava, wrecking everyone's stats. Like, don't be a jerk, I guess. But this is really cool new technology. This is a Class 1 electric bike, so it's allowed on the most trails and other places. It doesn't spin the tires. There's no ripping up or anything like that.
Yeah, and use a certain level of efficacy when you're out there riding. You get on these electric bikes and you're able to just like dominate climbing.
Yeah.
So you might think you're like, Mr. expert going up the hill.
Yeah.
But the real guys that know how to ride are going to come bombing past you on the downhill section.
Yeah.
So when I'm out riding, I usually let them know, or I'll stay behind them if I feel like, as I crest the hill though, I'll stop and let them pass because they're going to pass me anyway. I'm not at the level that a lot of people are, and I can't ride the bike to its full potential in a lot of cases, whereas other people can. So,
and it's different. This is an aluminum frame. And so we were talking about carbon fiber, some of the other high tech. You're paying extra, but it's for the drive system. There is that added weight. I talked about 50 pounds. A lot of it's right here on the down tube and at the center of the bike. That's much better than sort of the old school electric bikes where it's on the back or sometimes behind the seat tube. This is a performance bike, and in Europe they do race these and stuff, but you have that extra weight. The bike handles a little bit differently, so it's nice that it's purpose built. It's set up for that. Both wheels are quick release. That's another thing I love to call out about mid drives, because if you've got to do some trail maintenance or whatever, it's just like a normal bike. Even if I'm not like a mountain bike expert or something, I would take this to a shop and have them help me and set it up and stuff. That's part of the reason I'm here. You've got the bikes and stuff. They can come back at this and they're going to feel very comfortable. It's like, okay, yeah, I got my cassette derailleur, I got my disc brake and my rotor, and it's like, okay, great. like, this is a bike. The only thing that's electric about it is kind of like right here in the middle and just some displays up here, which is not much different than a cycle computer. I want to hop into this, but Sam, you know, we were just checking inventory a minute ago. That's the cool thing, again, about being at a shop and getting some perspective. These things there's a limited quantity.
Yeah, so for 2016, I put my pre-orders in back in October, and they're just now coming in, and we're in May at this point.
Wow.
For the Xduros, they're only bringing in 1,000 units. All models together, there's going to be 1,000 units.
And there's like 50 models, or 50 trims.
Yeah, so Xduro probably about half of that. And then for the S-Duro, they're bringing in 2,500.
Wow.
So it's going to be difficult on certain sizes to get them. 2017, I think you should be looking toward, because 2016, there's a lot of stuff that's already sold out in certain models. So.
And this one, we were looking at the 45, which is like the most popular size. So there's small, 40, medium 45, large. That's what we got here, 50. 45 is sold out on this.
Yeah, 45 and 50 are the most common sizes that are going to go first. And then they'll have the extra large and the smalls. Those are the ones that are usually in stock when the popular sizes are taken up. And then you have to wait for that next container to come in, which might be a couple months.
Wow. So if you're tall or shorter, we're looking at the inventory. There are some like 2014, 2015 models still available.
Yeah, there's a couple 2014s and there's a few 2015s. But back then, they didn't bring in as many models. I think in 2014, there were maybe like 8 models. In 2015, maybe a dozen or more.
Yeah.
Now it's just like wide open. They've got so many different categories. Fat tire bikes, full suspension with a 29er, or, well, they had that as well, but you've got different trim levels now too.
Yeah.
And point out they've got 5 different trim levels. It goes from, I think it's SM, SL, RC, RX, and Pro. And not every model comes in 5 different trim levels. For instance, this bike only comes in 3 of those 5 trim levels, whereas other bikes might only have like, I'm thinking of the All Mountain from S-Duro Haibike. It'll come in a Pro, an RC, and I think 1 trim level below that. So
I guess long story short, if you want a Haibike, like, talk to your dealer and order one soon, because you might be like, okay, I saved up the money, I pulled it, and then they're like, oh, we don't have your size. And I mean, I don't care. I don't sell bikes. Like, good luck. I don't even have a bike. I'm constantly reviewing and stuff. This isn't to pressure you into a sale or anything. Other companies are offering mid-drives and stuff, but very few have Yamaha in the United States right now, and very few, I think, have the value. That's why I like Haibike personally. They look cool, they have good components, and they're a pretty good value. And
savvy dealers probably are going to have those sizes. They put their orders in long ago, and they snapped up those popular sizes.
Yeah.
So you got to check around and see who's got what. You know, check with your local dealer, check with whoever you can to find out who's got it. Because if it's not locally in your region, you might be able to get it somewhere else.
A little road trip
to you.
Or ship it. Yeah, they do ship like ready to ride sometimes with Haibike, but it is a dealer only type of thing. Okay, so tapered head tube. You know, we talked about the through axles and stuff. Nice rims, knobby neck tires, really lightweight stuff. I wanted to get the spec on this, 29 by 2.25, so a little bit fatter. That adds some cushion combined with the suspension. Physics saddle. This is an active saddle. I mean, clearly high quality, and there's even a little like slide chip in here so you can mount your own light aftermarket. They sell some stuff like that. So there are just a ton of things to say about this. Let's get up into the display. So this is where you would unlock the battery. You don't have to leave the keys in. It does have its own little like power meter. You can press this and kind of get some idea on. You can charge it on or off the frame right there, which is really cool. Convenient so that you don't have to leave it on. And if you're taking this on a car, that's another thing. Get the battery off here and you have room to hang it potentially. It'll be a little bit tipped forward just because of the frame design, but it's nice to reduce the weight of the bike by like 6 pounds or something. So we come up here, we press the power button over there, display lights right up, super quick, speed in miles per hour. We've got like a little power meter, and that's based on how much energy the motor is putting out. So if you see that really straining, it's like you're working the motor, you're not gonna get quite the same range. 10 little dots on that battery indicator. And then if you press this S, like select button here, it rotates through other displays. So 99%. Now we have bars and also a percentage going on. RPM, rotations per minute, average speed, max speed, trip meter, odometer, and then distance. Distance is a really cool one because as you change different levels of assist, of which there are 4, it's sort of on the fly approximating how far it thinks you can go. So we'll arrow up to the lowest level of assist, Eco Plus, 104 miles. Now, don't get tricked into like, wow, this bike goes 104 miles. Eco Plus mode is kind of weak. I mean, it basically just takes the edge off of carrying extra weight around with the battery and the motor. Is that right, Sam?
Correct. I'd say that's pretty close. Yep.
Okay, and then if we arrow up to the next level, it's just standard Eco. It drops to 80 miles. Still impressive. I find myself riding in like Eco or Standard a lot. Standard is 52 miles. So I mean, realistically, 52 miles on relatively, smooth, solid terrain. If you start to get up into the high level, now it drops to 43 miles, but that's not like, I mean, it kind of depends on that power meter too. I feel like 30 miles is kind of a definite, like even if you're really climbing.
Range is contingent on so many different factors.
Yeah.
Body type,
Body
how much
type.
do you weigh, terrain that you're riding over. And for myself, I just want to do the local Fullerton Loop, which is about a, depending on how far I go around it and what route I take, anywhere from 14 to about 18-mile loop. So I can just be in high mode the whole way if I want.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about it because at the end of that ride, I'm still going to have battery left. So if you're just doing a loop, now if you're doing an extended, ride, say I'm out in Chino Hills and I'm doing a longer ride, I might want to conserve that and I go to a lower power level.
Yeah.
Until I, know that I can make it back to base camp without running my battery dead.
Yeah, you're totally right. And speaking of body types, that's why we wanted to do this. I'm 5'9", 135 pounds. How tall are you, Sam?
6'4", 260 pounds.
Okay, so yeah, and we, the bike's gonna perform differently for us. I wanted Sam to do the ride test this time and just have you on it, show what it looks like with you riding it, and
Sure.
yeah, I think that would be cool. Let's go ahead and do that. Got the helmet on, he's all set that way. Looking pretty good. Maybe you can do a ride by. Oh yeah, it's that 100 millimeters of travel we were talking about. Okay, bring it back. I want to hop on this thing and show the motor now. So it's disc brakes. So that's the other thing. With those upgraded brakes, you don't get like fade happening where you're braking a lot and it's getting hot and then you're losing traction. It also, there's a little bit of a break-in period. 203 millimeter on the front, 180 millimeter on the rear. Solid stopping power. A lot of it comes from the front. But just coming back to like what you're getting with this is, if you're actually going, down and you need in that braking power, this is going to be, it's going to perform for you that way. Okay, so we're in eco mode. I think I'm just going to take it up to high and just show you the motor. I wanted to get up close so you could kind of hear it and how quickly it responds. So you can see that chain continues to spin even after I've stopped pedaling. There is a little bit of a delay, and that's the case with all of the Yamaha bikes. They have a more traditionally sized chainring up front, 44 tooth for that large one. And so that's one of the trade-offs compared to Bosch. There's that smaller chainring, and it can kind of start and stop more quickly, but they don't have any models that have more than like 11 gears because they only have one front sprocket. So that's one of the trade-offs. Also, this one feels more torque driven, like I do have to kind of push, and in my opinion, the range of RPM output for the Yamaha motor is more limited. So you end up in a situation where you have to shift gears in order to hit that higher top speed. Like right now, I mean, now it's me pushing. I'm not being outpaced by the motor. The motor kind of like stopped really giving me power there, and I was only up to like 14 miles per hour. The top speed on this bike is 20. Okay, so if I want to hit 20, I'm gonna have to go over here, click the shifter, get up to a higher gear, and now I can get closer to that 20 miles per hour. So that's what I'm saying. It's more like a manual transmission car. I feel like the Bosch unit, which is also available on Haibike, again, a little bit more expensive. It has the shift sensing, and it also has that higher RPM output. If you don't mind shifting and you ease off a little bit, this works just fine. And again, if you want that full suspension 29er, this is really the FullNine line is really your only option from Haibike right now. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful. It's a lot of fun to connect with someone who has a shop, who has some experience with these, who's the right size for the frame and stuff. It's just a ton of fun. If you have any questions or maybe you have some feedback about this, leave them in the comments for sure, and I'll see you back at the site for the full review with more of the sizes, information, photos, and stuff. That's ElectricBikeReview.com, and of course, ride safe.